Vlad was there, Rusty gushed about Jerry, but I knew I couldn't leave without talking to Gary. Had to tell him all about the day 6 years prior, the night of his last game, the night kid retired. Had tickets in the bleachers, but I snuck down. Needed to say bye the only way I knew how. I told him I made a sign, spent all night drawing, and all I wanted was to make sure that he saw it. The slightest acknowledgement would have been worth the while, but I was thrilled when I got a thumbs up and a smile. We stood together singing the anthem loud. Posed to the cameras, held my sign up proud. The next morning Dad showed me the paper cover. There is Gary, hand on heart, and me right above him. When I told Kid the story, he smiled and asked my name and said he had that same pic at home in a frame. Today I got it hanging in my studio office. It's signed, God bless you, the kid, Gary Carter.
Gary swings at the 5 over right field. Dawson going back over the track. Larry Walker's going to come in the score. The Expos lead 1-0. He made the magic happen.
He's looking at you, kid, to your classic style. I won't forget the passion in your eyes. He's looking at you.
7:06 on TSN's 690. Welcome back to Game Points. I'm your host, Matthew Ross. We're here till the top of the hour. Still to come tonight, we'll chat some baseball. We'll also get back to some Alouettes talk as well. But you heard the song, and that was released a couple of years, basically to the day. It's by our next guest here on the program. He can be followed on Annakin Slayd on Twitter.com, or, of course, AnnakinSlayd.com. We'll also get to his brand new tribute or song that's starting to make the rounds as well the last couple of days. But wanted to chat about the 2-year passing of Gary Carter with our next guest. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Matt?
I am well, thanks. Now, you told me you're under the weather. What's going on?
I got something. I caught something. It's probably because I pulled an all-nighter a couple of days ago trying to put that Team Canada video out. I think I'm paying for it now.
Oh, jeez. Well, obviously, it's an emotional time for people like yourself that were major Gary Carter fans and who certainly had a chance to meet him as well. It's now 2 years later. Does it feel like it's been 2 years?
No, there was a second I was thinking about it. I was like, has it been a year or 2 years? It really feels like it wasn't that long ago. And yeah, of course it's been 2 years. It really feels like yesterday. And it's just weird to think that Gary Carter hasn't been on this earth for 2 years. I mean, he's just such a big part of me growing up as becoming a man, and him as an example to me it's just weird to be without him, and to think about all the things we've done since then as far as the movement goes and all the parks that have been dedicated to him and all those things. It all happened in a 2 years time. It's crazy to think about. I
was going to ask you about that. In your mind, it's his passing has unfortunately kind of been a catalyst, hasn't it?
Really has. It's I've been reading a lot about that and about people commenting on on the Expos Nation site and things like that. And a lot of people say that Gary contributed so much while he was here, to the Expos, and in a way, his passing, he's contributed something as well. And that's kind of like people kind of seeing the positives about having a team in Montreal and the greatness that actually happened while we had a baseball team, and not all about the negatives and how it was failed and how the fans never showed up. But what about the times when Gary was the big star on the team and he was a hero as big as any hero that we've ever had in the city sports-wise, and the team was rocking and filling up the Big O. So if anything, the one good thing that came out of it is that there's kind of a revitalized nostalgia as far as the Expos goes.
In terms of the actual song, there's a story that you tell in the song. Why don't you tell the listeners again what it's about?
Yeah, it's been it's always interesting to tell the story, because it's now all these years later, it seems so crazy to think that at the time when his last game, which was of course in 1992, and he had that big game-winning double at the end, and I mean, I was really although I never saw him play in his prime because I was too young, my dad had passed on the idea that Carter was so important that 1 year that he came in 92, it was like he was the big star on the team for me. He was like a legend walking. So when he said he was going to retire, I drew this sign that you can see in a actual famous picture now that's my Facebook profile right today. and it's basically the sign that I drew, and I tried to get down close to the dugout so that he could see it, and he was walking around the field, shaking hands, taking pictures, so forth. So I was waving it at him, and he spotted it, and he gave me one of these like winks and a smile that the kid always gave. And then I yelled out to him, I'm like, "Can you please sign it, Gary?" And he said, after the anthem, because the anthem was about to be played. So I just stood there holding the sign, and he happened to like stand right in front of me, take his hat off, put it on his heart, and this whole line of photographers was just sitting right in front of him, taking pictures of me, and with him in the forefront. And the next day, that picture was the cover of the Gazette, and it was something that was amazing. And then years later, when they had the rally in Complex Desjardins, Carter was there with Staub and Guerrero and all of them, and I went up to Carter and I said, "Do you remember this sign? I was a kid holding the sign that you." And he's like, "Yes, of course I remember it. I have that Gazette cover hanging up in my office." He was working for the Expos at the time, and so the picture is just sitting there in his office. So that was kind of one of those amazing moments of my childhood, and then just to relive it through song and for it to become a sort of hit and kind of like his anthem was pretty amazing.
Chatting with Annakin Slayd about the 2-year passing of Gary Carter, and it's amazing to me the outpouring of emotion that happened that day. I remember here on TSN 690 that when he passed, they just went, instead of going to feed for audio that day, it was all about taking calls and just the outpouring. I couldn't believe it, actually, a little bit, because I'm roughly the same age as you, and obviously I remember very little of him in his prime, but I do remember the 92 season, obviously, but I just didn't get the full impact that he had until he passed away.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that day very clearly too, and I remember the moment he passed, and it hit me hard, but it wasn't one of those things where I was like, grief stricken or anything like that. And then I had kind of delayed this video because I had gotten really busy releasing my album and everything. So I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't think I was going to do it when he died. I thought I would do it as kind of like a song saying, keep fighting, Gary, because we know, we believe in you and we know you can beat this and all that. And it just never ended up happening. But the song was there and I'd already started the video. So I decided to turn it more into like a eulogy. And so I was working really hard on the video that day when he passed, and it never truly hit me until I was listening to the radio at the same time, and I remember Crow came on, Warren Cromartie, and he just was bawling. He was bawling on the radio, and once I heard that, it just broke me. I couldn't hold it myself. So, but it was one of the hardest things to do as an artist, to do this video while I know that one of my heroes had just passed, and hearing all the people, all the outpouring of grief, and Dave Kaufman had a great show where he had a bunch of people on, and it was basically like a 2-hour dedication to Carter. So it was one of those weird things, like really sad thing that kind of brought us all together and helped us talk about our memories and relive the good moments. And it's unfortunate, but that's how life is. You gotta, the bad times, you gotta come together.
Now on to more positive stuff.
Yeah.
Now that's a little bit of the new song. Where's this coming from, and what made you release this? Obviously about the men's hockey team battling in Sochi.
Yeah, it seemed like an obvious thing for me. It was one of those things that I always thought I would do. I actually remember wanting to do it in 2010 for Vancouver, but at that point I was actually working on a new version of Feels Like 93, which came out when the Canadians went on their run in 2010. So I didn't get around to doing one then. And, it only comes every 4 years, and it's something that we're all really, really attached to. I think we can all remember where we were, 2010 when they won. And it's just one of those things. It just seemed an obvious fit for me. People really dig the hockey songs. And I get really into the Team Canada's runs every year, and it's such a great team this year, and so many good stars, so many local guys for us, PK and Carey, that it just seemed like a natural to get this thing done. So I actually spit it out in less than a week. So
Cool. Very cool. Now, if you want to see the video, you can check it out on YouTube. You would search what? Stay Gold, Annakin Slayd?
Yeah, Stay Gold, Annakin Slayd. I bet it's getting a lot of views right now, so I would think if you just searched Annakin Slayd, it would be one of the first ones to come up, but pretty easy to find.
All right, and before we go, why don't you tell the people what happens if they go to, for example, iTunes and download the Gary Carter tribute called Kid?
Yeah, every single penny of that goes to the Gary Carter Foundation. I was lucky enough to present a check to Sandy Carter, his wife, his widow, a couple of months ago. So I plan to present that check once a year. So obviously, the more downloads we get, the more money goes to the Carter Foundation. Well,
thank you very much, man. Obviously, we chat regularly, but I wanted to get the story of the Gary Carter video and song on air, and certainly about the Stay Gold as well. So keep it up. We have Stefano Micella here in studio, who asked me when you're going to do a song about Team Italy in soccer, because he thinks you're a good luck charm. So.
Yeah, well, I'm still loyal to Team Greece, so.
Fair enough. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Okay, boys. Have a good one.
All right, there you go. Annakin Slayd on Twitter.com, or check out AnnakinSlayd.com. It's Game Points here on TSN 690. Still more show to come here on the other side. No head coach, no offensive coordinator for the Montreal Alouettes. What is going on? It's killing us to try and attract free agents, isn't it? Mo Khan breaks it down next.
If you find a loony sitting on a center ice, that's a stained Canadian, survive at least tonight. Yeah.